Growing up was a task in itself for me. There was very little discipline in my life. My parents got divorced when I was young. I basically rebelled and did pretty much whatever I could get myself involved in as far as trouble. Starting with little things like throwing rocks at cars or setting mailboxes on fire or stealing stuff from the local store. And it quickly escalated. At 12 years old, I started smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol. My life went downhill pretty quick. I started to sell drugs and I went really fast down the deep end. I got involved with a lot of older guys that were involved in selling drugs. They basically recruited me. I was a little bit crazy. So that lifestyle it basically destroyed me. I thought that I was something that I wasn't. I lived the music, rap music became very prominent. Ghetto Boys, NWA, this gangster rap mentality lifestyle just was poured out through music and media. I became something that I was not. In a small country town, Harwich, Massachusetts, I became a wannabe gangster is the best way that I could put it, or a wannabe thug. Thought my life was untouchable. Marijuana and alcohol turned to stealing cars. It turned to cocaine, mushrooms, acid. I dropped out of school, got kicked out of school, went back to school, got kicked out again. Just very violent, rebellious individual that had no care for society, no care for the law, no care for myself. Ran away to Florida, lived in Florida, did the same thing there, 16 years old, living in West Palm Beach, Florida, away from home, just getting involved in drugs and alcohol there. And just a disgusting lifestyle. I didn't know it was disgusting at the time, but looking back, it's very shameful, the things that I was involved in and the people that I hurt. Maybe even some of you, and I apologize if I have, or family members of you. Growing up around here, I violated a lot of people through drug dealing, through violence, and I ended up in prison. I've been in prison 4 times. I think I got 6 or 8 felonies on my record. Rap sheet probably as long as I stand. I needed something different. I was going down a path straight to hell. A lot of my friends got overdosed or murdered, just tragedy after tragedy. And meanwhile, I'm in the middle of it, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'm okay. And you know what, I wasn't okay. I was destroyed. I never did anything halfway. When I used to run on the streets, they actually called me Word because I would do what I said I was going to do. And I ran into some of the brothers from the church at San Diego's, and I was drunk, and they challenged me to come to church, and I agreed. And in the morning when they called, I said, "You got the wrong guy. I'm not going to church." And they said, "Word, you always do what you say. You need to go to church." And I came to church, and God had an evangelist here named Glenn Cluck. And one of my biggest issues in life, I think due to the fact that I rebelled from authority, was I clung to negative male influences. And I mean, when I say clung to them, I held those relationships with highest esteem and would do virtually anything for the approval of these men. And when God spoke through Glenn Cluck directly into my life, the exact words that if I was willing to serve Pastor Campo or God the same way that I would serve those men, I broke. And I thought of myself about the amount of times that people, told on me, and I went to court because people got me involved in things, and then they said, "Oh, Josh did it." And so I thought, you know what, maybe there's something here. Maybe there is a God, and maybe that God can even touch somebody as lost and broken and hurt and violated as I was. And I said, if that God's real, I'm going to serve him. And I've been serving him ever since. And at first, I didn't know what it was to serve God. I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know how to speak to God. I remember specifically, trying to fight through conversations with God in heaven and folks saying, oh, we need to pray. And I'm looking like, what's pray? I don't know what pray is, but just something kept drawing me. Individuals within the church kept calling me and encouraging me to come out. And Pastor Campo would be there day in and day out, and just watching his example, I got hooked. Just like I got hooked to running with these men on the street. I got hooked on these men that had a vision for God and what God could do. And I got delivered from drugs, crack cocaine and heroin and alcohol. I got delivered from perversion and sleeping around. I broke up with girlfriends and said it's not going to happen anymore. And I actually got a job, for one of the first times in my life. And you know what? The amazing power of God to take an individual as broken and lost, as terrified as I was, and to take that, high school dropout, ninth grade dropout with no job skills or ability, and start to be able to create an individual that actually could put sentences together and could wake up in the morning and go to a job and do the things that need to happen. It's impossible unless if it's God. And so I didn't have a choice when God touched my life, because I was so drawn by the power of God. I was so drawn by that change, that spiritual change within me. I was so drawn by the fact that something so useless as I was could be wanted to be used by something as powerful as God. And so as I gave my life to Jesus Christ and continued to serve, He brought the deliverance from the things that were simple, like the alcohol and the drugs. But what He really did was He untied all the bitterness and anger and hatred and remorse and regret within me. And He untied those things, and He allowed me to be free from the bondage of myself and anger from my parents and anger from broken relationships. And it's amazing all the things that's God done, the way He's brought me, the individuals that have followed out of the wrong path, that are serving God. There would be nothing else that I ever could do in my life, and I'm going to continue on the path of service to God because what He has already done for me in my life.